Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making some homemade fig Newtons. So as many of you know, I have some beautiful figs. I have a wonderful fig tree. It's so productive every year, and it's a Turkish fig. So they're the big, beautiful purple figs. They're super, super sweet. So every year at Christmas, I make homemade fig Newtons, but I decided today I have a few different people that I bake for, so I'm gonna be making some fig Newtons. My grandkids are coming over, and I thought I'd have some warm cookies for them when they get here. So I'm so happy that you joined me today. So when I start making my fig filling, the easiest way that I found to do it is to take my figs after I get them off the tree and I blanch them. So I put them in a little bit of boiling water for about a minute. I let them completely dry, and then I put them in the freezer whole. So these were actually some figs from last summer. And I usually freeze 2 or 3 gallon-sized bags, and then I take out a bag and I make a huge batch of my fig sauce so that I can, use it for some fig Newtons or fig bars that I make at the time I'm cooking. And then I also just go ahead and freeze the rest of the mixture so that I have it available for another recipe. This just works really easy for me. I've seen recipes where people have taken dehydrated figs and put them back into water and rehydrated them and then just put them through a food processor. That's another way to do it. I just find that this comes out absolutely perfect. It's very little work. These are partially frozen, and all I really have to do is just make sure that I cut the little stem off, because it'll never get soft when you cook it. The rest of the fig, the whole fig, you can use it. And as you can see, these are just so easy to cut through. They're beautiful inside. Every one of them's perfectly ripe. And then I just cut that little tip off, the little stem, and the whole fig is just ready to put into a pot. I put it into a stainless steel pot, and then I start cooking them. So the next thing I do is I add a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar and a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And then I take a 1/2 cup of apple juice and I just put that right into the pan just so the figs don't burn, and I start cooking them over like a medium-high heat. So my figs have been cooking for about 20 minutes. They softened up enough. I just ran an immersion blender through them, and I've turned down the heat now. I've got them on kind of a simmer. And because of the thickness of them, they're going to get a little bit thicker, but I then cover them, and because they will splatter. So it's time to make our crust for our fig Newton cookies. So it looks like I actually lost a little bit of footage, so I just want to go over the ingredients with you again. I mixed all of these in a KitchenAid mixer, and it called for 2½ cups of flour. Now I actually added 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, and then I did 1 cup of a good wheat flour. I added 1¼ cups of butter. I added a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1 tablespoon of any kind of juice, lemon juice, orange juice, whatever it is that you like. And you're going to be adding just 2 large eggs or 3 egg yolks. And all I'm going to do is just get all this out of my pan. And you're only going to mix it till you get it incorporated. And so at this point, all I'm going to do is just wrap it up so it's a little bit easier to work with, in a little bit of plastic, and I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator for just until my fig sauce is completely cooled so that we can roll out our fig Newtons. So that's all we're going to do at this point. Just throw this in the refrigerator, and we'll take it out as soon as we're ready to put it together. In the meantime, while our fig sauce is starting to cool, I take a tablespoon of that Degari Jello gelatin and I mix it with about, 3 tablespoons of water, and I add that to my fig sauce. It just makes it a little bit more thick without really changing the flavor of the fig. I really like that mango gelatin that they make, and so I just added a teaspoon of that. This stuff is so good, and my fig sauce, as you can see, is getting nice and thick. I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to put my cookies together. It's time to roll out our dough. So there's a couple ways that you can do this dough. You can either roll it into strips and fill them and then bake them, or you can do them like an 8x8 pan or 9x11 pan and just cut them into squares, whatever works out best for you. I'm just flouring my board, getting ready to roll these out. Now I'm going to do the strip method, and it's very easy, so I'll show you how it goes. This is my dough. And I'm going to take about half of it to start with. I'm going to put the other half in the refrigerator and let it continue to, stay cold. All right, so I want to have this kind of a rectangular shape because I'm going to be doing kind of a strips of this. So I want to keep this board nice and floured. I'm going to just kind of use my hands for now. Make sure your hands are clean, of course. I think everybody knows that, but all right. So all I'm going to do, so you have to be really careful. This stuff is pretty sticky because it's just got a lot of good stuff in it. You see, we didn't add like a lot of liquids, but this dough is kind of a sticky dough. I'm going to put a little bit more flour on here. I don't want it sticking. All right, we're going to start rolling it out. It's a little hard because it's if you've ever worked with this kind of a dough, it's just kind of, I could add more flour, but I want it to stay nice and soft, so all right, we're gonna just work with the way we have it. We may have to just kind of do the strips and then pull those up one at a time with a spatula. All right, so we're just gonna roll it out a little bit, just a little. Nothing too fancy. Very sticky, even with all this flour. It's a very sticky dough. All right, so that's going to be enough for me. I don't want to fiddle with this, ruin it. So all we're going to do is kind of cut this into little strips, just like this. I'm going to just do 3 of these. Now you can make these kind of even on the end if you want. I don't want to lose a lot of my dough, so I'm not going to worry about it. But I'll take a little off just so you can see how nice it is with it a little bit more even. So this is my beautiful filling that I have. I actually contemplated making some of it into jam because it is just so sweet and so good. But I decided, I think whatever I don't use for today's Fig Newton recipe, I'm going to use for I'm going to freeze it and have this available really easy when I make Fig Newtons next time. So all we're going to do is put some fig sauce right down the middle of our Fig Newton. Now you don't want to put too much because it's just going to ooze out all over everything. But a nice line of the fig sauce, just like this. And then all we're going to do is just roll it over onto the fig, just like this. Roll it. roll it. And the same thing with this side. We're just gonna roll it. Make sure it all comes up just like this. Now, like I said, this is a this is a crazy. I may change my idea. I may put this into a pan because I have a feeling these are going to be kind of hard to cut. We'll do these and see what happens. We're gonna do a test. I think I'm gonna do this half with the strips, and I'm gonna do the other one in a pan, and we'll see which one comes out better. All right. You know, it's funny, I've done these fig cookies so many times I could do them with my eyes closed. And I don't usually have this problem with the dough. I'm not quite sure why I'm having trouble with it today. I think what I'm gonna do is just take some of this off. This is the sample we're gonna do because I'm gonna use the rest of it to do in the pan. This just is not coming out the way I want it to. I'm just gonna pinch the ends here. But I can guarantee you one thing, these are, even if they don't look terrific, they are gonna taste amazing. And once they bake, they're just a completely different cookie. All right, so we're gonna do these. And might as well do this one too. Let me go ahead and put a little bit more flour down. I'm gonna move this over. I think I'll just cut it in half ahead of time. What the heck? Okay. I'll flatten it out a little bit more. Let's try that. That's more how it's supposed to look before it goes on the tray. All right, we're gonna put this in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 18 minutes. We'll keep checking it and see how these come out. And in the meantime, we'll start on our second way of making these cookies. So in this one, I'm just gonna butter my parchment paper a little bit, just get it nice and buttered. I wanna make sure when I cut these that I don't have any problems taking them out of the pan. All right, because I'm gonna cut this in half, just like this. And I'm gonna just push this down right onto the parchment paper. Just keep your hands a little floured. It probably won't go all the way to the edges because this is only half of our recipe. You see, we just did some cookies the other way. So you don't want it super thin. So as much as you can get of this, try to get it so that you can cut it. Still try to keep it in the shape of the kind of the rectangle or the square. Whatever it is, you can cut these into little pieces. That looks pretty good right there. And so all I'm gonna do now is just take some of our mix. I'm just just gonna spread it all over. Now this one I'm not so worried about getting it anywhere else besides the cookie, because these I don't care if it, you know, scoots out of the mixture. It'll be just fine. This is gonna be more of a bar. And as this cools, it's gonna get thicker anyway. All right, so that looks really good. Now, this is our secret to putting this on top. We are going to take this plastic and just kind of mimic the shape that you have right there, best you can. It's not going to be exactly the same, but if you can get it a little bit bigger, that would even be better. And this one, I don't care if it's a little bit thinner. We're just gonna scooch it out onto these edges. What that is, something kind of hard, huh? Maybe a piece of the fig, I don't know. All right, so we are just going to, that looks great. So now all you're gonna do is take your plastic, put it right over the top. And who cares if it cracks a little? It's not going to affect one little thing. Trust me on this. All right, so we're going to take our plastic, put it down over the fig sauce. And then if you've ever made a pie crust that's just a little bit too, you know, it's just a little bit too hard to work and you don't want to put more flour in it or what have you, all you do is just pull the plastic away. Make sure you can see this, just like this. Is that easy or what? All right. So we are going to put this inside of our, we're going to put this right inside of our mix, just like this. All right, we're going to go throw this in the oven. Just like this. Put a little flour on it. Okay, we're gonna throw this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees until it's cooked. Because it's so thin, this is only a half a recipe. I don't know how long that's gonna be. Normally, if you do it in a pan, it's gonna take more like 40 to 45 minutes. I'm gonna check it after 20 and see what we've got. Now all I'm gonna do so that I have less work to do at Christmas is fill up this bag with this wonderful fig sauce that I just made. And I'm gonna have everything ready for the holidays. Now let me get this on here securely, because you know what happens sometimes. The whole bottom of the bag just, I don't know, falls apart. But this worked out fine. So all I'm gonna do is just get the rest of this fig sauce in here and kind of clean this bag up a little bit. There are little holders you can get for those bags. If anybody's ever tried those, comment below and tell me how they work. I've thought about buying them. I may get some. It just seems like any kind of liquid you put in is always so hard and so much chance of it kind of getting all over. Now this is so good, you could actually jar this up in a water bath canner if you wanted to make it into jam. It's a wonderful consistency. All right, let me clean around the edge and I'll get this sealed and put in the freezer. Now this will be just like the day I took it out when I go to make fig cookies this Christmas. And really all I'll have to do is make the dough and put these together. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of get some of this air out. Just like this. And then I usually kind of dry everything flat like this. So I have a special little tray for these types of things that I freeze. This This is a little tray I used to bring my mom's dinner on when she lived with me. She got to a point she just didn't want to sit at the kitchen table anymore. She was more comfortable eating in her room. So I'm gonna stick this in the freezer, and come December, we're gonna have half the job done. So one of the things I like to do is I like to make a little bit of a powdered sugar, I wouldn't say a frosting, but kind of like a little drizzle to put over the fig bars when I'm done. And then I kind of usually let the grandkids do something like this after they're already cut and can't get in too much trouble. But I think today I'm gonna do these just because I wanted to send some with my daughter-in-law for the lady she takes care of. So I'm gonna try to get these done before she gets here. I'm not sure it's gonna work out, but I'm gonna try. So my frosting's really easy to make. I just take a little bit of half and half. And I usually put a little bit of vanilla in it, but I can't find my vanilla for some reason. If you like it thicker, put more powdered sugar in. If you like it thinner, put more cream or milk in it. So that's about how I like mine, right like that. I just want to be able to drizzle it over the... So these cookies have been in 18 minutes. They look absolutely beautiful. They're soft, just like a fig Newton. They're not too hard. It's a wonderful dough. So as soon as these cool completely, then I'll cut them for you. So I'm just moving these over to a cooling rack so they cool a little faster. So you don't want to cut your cookies when they're super hot, but you don't want to cut them when they're hard either. So you just have to kind of wait about, I'd say 5 or 10 minutes. And then what I do is I take the cookies, well, those look great, and I just put them back on the cooling rack to finish, you know, drying off and cooling. And these are going to be so good. They're going to be such a nice little treat. This is just a great dough. Like I said, it's very forgiving. You don't have to worry about, you know, your cookie. Even some of these where, you know, it didn't quite seal in the middle, it looks fine. It's going to be a great cookie. We're going to let these cool. All right, let's give our fig Newton a try. And these are our fig Newtons that are cooling. Just that half a recipe. Look at how many cookies it made. This is just, it's amazing. And when I go to do this at Christmas, all I'm gonna have to do is make my dough, let it set, my filling will be all done. All right, let's give this cookie a try. I know it's not on Trim Healthy Mama, but I gotta sample it. What if it's terrible? I can't send it out to people like this. That is so good. So all these cookies and bars came from one recipe, and there's just so much that you get from it. It's just wonderful. So if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please consider subscribing. Give me a like, a thumbs up, or ring the bell for future notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Are you interested in winning a brand new Presto canner? If so, go ahead and email me at the link above. Let me know you're interested in the drawing. If I hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year, December 31st, 2024, I'm going to give away a brand new Presto canner to one lucky winner.